really happy to be here, and really excited to tell you more about our existing foundational applications like the Launchpad, NFTs, DEX, and the Bridge. And let me start with the Launchpad. First of all, I want to mention that Launchpad will become actually xLaunchpad pretty soon. Maybe zooming out a little bit, I want to reiterate the main goal for the Launchpad and our vision. And basically, the idea is we are backing up determined teams, solving hard problems with global impact. Ideas originating anywhere in the world can now be supported by anyone through blockchain technology. Hardcore teams can build amazing products via decentralized funding and tap into our expanding ecosystem and into our global and passionate community. Since we launched my Launchpad, now xLaunchpad, 1 year ago, we've seen more than 1,500 teams applying to be part of the Launchpad. 4 of them were selected until now. You probably already know them. It's Holoride, Ethereum, Cantina Royale, and AshSwap. Let's talk a little bit about numbers. So until now, all those Launchpad projects raised more than $10 million from around more than 100,000 unique participants. And basically, for all these projects, more than $100 million were committed. And the reason for this is that basically all those projects were oversubscribed, some of them even up to 15 times. For example, AshSwap, the latest Launchpad that finished their round last week, they managed to sell more than 330,000 lottery tickets or Launchpad tickets. And this means that more than 300,000 e-gold were committed. That's the equivalent of around $17 million for a round of $2.8 million. It's like 6 times subscribed. And this is remarkable considering the market context. Next, I want to talk a little bit what will come to the Launchpad, and maybe the first thing I want to mention is more Launchpad platforms. Some of you heard probably of BeHero, one of the first Launchpad platforms from our community. Thank you. The idea is there are so many great projects building on Elrond, and we feel like we cannot support all of those. So we are encouraging other actors, players in the Elrond ecosystem to build their own Launchpad platforms. Of course, each Launchpad platform like this will come with its own process in terms of KYC, requirements, due diligence. Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about KYC. And first thing I want to mention is that we hear you. We know that for many of you, the KYC process was a little bit challenging. And maybe one thing here to add is that, first of all, KYC process is required due to regulations. Secondly, the KYC process in general, not just for us, but for all the services and products out there, it's challenging. But we are actively looking into optimizing it and improving it. Talking about maybe one of the most requested feature from LKMEX holders. Are any LKMEX holders here? Okay, that's good. So one of the most requested features from them, and arguably one of the most exciting one, is to be able to participate in Launchpad based on your LKMEX holdings. We'll talk a bit. The good thing is for Eagle holders. Are any Eagle holders here? The good thing, e-gold tiers, and based on the e-gold staked, will run in parallel with the tiers from LKMEX. So basically now you'll be able to be eligible for your e-gold staked and for LKMEX as well to participate in the next launchpads. Having said that, it goes without saying that the current market will continue, we will continue, even despite the current market, to build and support other builders, so expect more projects to come on xLaunchpad. Next, I want to talk about inspired art that we launched a couple of months ago and that has been incredibly well received by our community. With Inspire Art, the idea was to build a hub for all the blockchains, for all the NFT projects that are live in our blockchain, and spotlight the most amazing ones, and create a platform for those projects and the artists, creators to be discovered, and a way for them to grow their community in a meaningful way. On the other hand, inspired art is not a marketplace, but we integrated the most popular marketplaces there. And this makes buying an NFT display there a very intuitive process. Of course, we'll soon see Inspire Art becoming xSpotlight and even a more meaningful stage for artists and creators of all kinds. When going to what will happen next with the xSpotlight, pretty soon we're going to launch a revamped website with a new UI. Here is a screenshot of the homepage. And basically, there are a few improvements that will become available pretty soon once we launch xSpotlight. And I'll just mention, I think they are already there. We are basically all the creator parties refactored. Also, the explore section is rethink from the ground up. The collections comes with some new filters, some new ratings, and other stuff like that. I'm really excited that this is actually ready and will come live pretty soon, as mentioned on xSpotlight.com. Next, what do you think we should talk next? That's the one. So let's talk about the DEX, where we are first and its future. Automated market makers are an important breakthrough, adding efficiency to market liquidity in a decentralized way. That's why MultiversX is such an important piece of the puzzle of our ecosystem. Basically, it gives all the ESDT tokens their liquidity and enables swapping. MultiversX was launched almost 1 year ago, and since then, more than 2.5 million trades were processed by MultiversX, and this means a volume of more than $4 billion. Although we are still very early, I like this. In the last year, we introduced several new and innovative features, and I'm just going to go over those really fast. The meta staking is a way of earning dual yields reward. Then we have the meta bonding. Meta bonding is a way for any project to connect with our vibrant community. Right now, there are more than 7 projects live there, and more will come. And of course, we have the launch. Launch basically is a way for Launchpad projects to get listed on MultiversX using the price discovery mechanism. And then, of course, there is the Jungle DEX, the Auto Router, and others. But maybe the most interesting and unique thing about MultiversX is the LKMEX, or LKMEX, and the usage of SFTs. And I just want to stress this fact that also it's a little bit technical. The idea is Maya DEX uses very extensively these SFTs. SFTs are, probably you are familiar more with the term NFTs, non-fungible tokens. SFTs, semi-fungible tokens. And basically what's unique in this regard is instead of keeping the information about, let's say, a user position in a liquidity pool or in a farm, in a smart contract, like almost all the other DEXs are doing. Basically, we keep this information at the user level in like a meta information or like an information written inside this token, this SFT. And this is very unique because it gives you a lot of freedom and very interesting approaches. As well, LKMEX is an SFT, and it's very interesting, although it's a lock token, you still can use it. For example, to provide liquidity, you can use it in a farm, you can stake it, meta bonding, or in the staking pool. And this is a very interesting approach, a very interesting approach, and very unique, as I said, from a design point of view, but from a technical point of view, but also from a game design point of view. While all this might be very impressive for a first year, we knew from the beginning that this is not enough. And frankly, we can do so much better. That's why the first max economic model, if you know, only covered the first year. That's why right now we are ready to move to the next phase, what is here, so-called DEX 2.0, or even better, xExchange. So, as mentioned before, decentralized exchanges have brought a significant breakthrough in bootstrapping liquidity. However, all known DEX economic models suffer from a crippling affliction. And the idea is there is a gross misalignment between the growth of DEX and the value accrual of the native token. That's why with DEX 2.0, we are redesigning some of the key elements that significantly improves the value accrual mechanism. And this means maximum cap supply for max, and also a novel concept for LKMEX that has wide foundational implications, and that is the energy the LKMEX hold. So, in DEX 2.0, a max token, once it is locked, acts as a battery. So LKMEX, the battery, can then be charged, filled in with energy. And this energy gives you a lot of benefits and rewards, as you'll see pretty soon. And while enjoying these benefits, the energy is consumed until no energy remains in that LKMEX. And at that point, you can choose to convert it to max if you want, or you can go to a new cycle and basically recharge the LKMEX and then join again those benefits. And here the main idea, the key point is the more time you lock your LKMEX, the more energy you're gonna have, and of course, more benefits and more rewards. As you can see, the way we are calculating the energy, it's pretty simple. For example, one LKMEX that is locked for 1 year will have attached to it an equivalent of 365 points, so like 1 point per day per max. And there will be more options to lock your max in the DEX 2.0, not for 1 year as it was before, but basically you can choose to charge it or lock it for 1 year, 2 years, or 4 years. And coming back to this example of energy points, if you lock it for 2 years, you're gonna basically get twice more energy points. And if you lock it for 4 years, basically you're gonna get 4 times more energy points. So think about it. LKMEX is a battery. If all your max is locked, this battery is fully charged. But on the other hand, the size of the battery matters. It is one half to have a fully charged battery that is small, and another thing to have a fully charged battery that is twice bigger or 4 times bigger. So let's go very briefly to some of the features of the new LKMEX. Discharging. as mentioned, while enjoying benefits, the energy of each LKMEX is decreasing by 1 energy point per day until it reaches naturally, organically, 0 energy. But if you want to speed the discharging, you can decrease the energy of your locked max down to 0 or 1 year or 2 years. This basically means that now any locked max can be unlocked at any time. You don't need to wait, as it was before, for 1 year, but there's a catch, of course. There is a so-called removal fee. So the more energy you are removing from your locked max, the higher this removal fee will be, and can be up to 80% of your locked max. For example, 80% is the maximum. If you have locked max locked for 4 years and you want to unlock it now, you'll pay a fee of 80%. And here there is a very interesting thing. What will happen with this fee? Basically, 50% of this fee will be burned. So basically, the entire ecosystem will somehow get some value from those that are exiting. And the other 50% actually will go back to all the locked max holders that are still there. We'll talk about this part a little bit later. This is part of something so-called fees pool. There are more fees that are accumulated there that will be available to be claimable by locked max holders each week. Coming back to the recharging part, there is the recharging part. Basically, at any time and as many times you want, if you want to optimize your locked max you hold, you can at any time recharge it. Basically, you can say this locked max I want to be locked for 4 years, and you can do it at any time. You can optimize how much energy you get, and there will be no limitation to recharge your locked max. So you don't have to wait 4 years and then to recharge it. You can do it every day, every minute. Probably there will be some limitation, maybe not every minute. Anyway, about the unlocking, things are very clear, will remain the same. When no energy remains in your locked max, basically you can convert it back to max. Max will remain, of course, as it was, transferable and exchangeable, swappable on MultiversX and other exchanges. Now, maybe the last thing I'm going to mention about the locked max future is the transferability. There is some changes here, and basically the new locked max will no longer be transferable and will be bound. This is something new, I know. There was a lot of discussion on this. Basically, as I said, from a technical point of view, it's incredible what we can do with those SFTs and LKMEX. Coming back to the purpose of a locked max as it was initially designed, usually locked max you should not be able to sell it or to do other stuff that, let's say, might hurt the ecosystem. That's why we said that we have the ability to design a locked max that is not transferable. However, still, there will be some cases when locked max will still be transferable. And I'm going to mention 3 of those. One is between 2 wallets of the same users. Of course, we're not going to do a KYC of the user, but basically, the transferring locked max between 2 addresses will come with some constraints. I'm just going to give an example. It will have to wait 30 days, and this will be managed by a smart contract. And the destination address will also be they will not be able to transfer to any other address for another 30 days. This is just an idea. So there are some use cases when your wallet is compromised. When you want to move from a hot wallet to a cold wallet, we still want to support this kind of transfer of locked max. Of course, locked max will be transferable inside MultiversX. You'll still be able to provide liquidity. You'll still be able to farm. You'll still be able to use locked max as before. And of course, an interesting thing that you'll be make locked max transferable in the future is for beyond the MultiversX on some third-party application and services built by the community, as long as it passes a governance vote. So basically, the community will be able to okay. let's go very briefly to some of the benefits of this energy and a comparison between the old Max, old LKMEX, and the new LKMEX. And I'm going to start with the staking part, the new staking. Basically, once DEX 2.0 goes live, users won't need to stake anymore. And just by holding your locked max, based on your energy, you'll receive more locked max. There is a difference here. In the old version, you could still stake your max. This is no longer give you available, so only locked max will be available for staking. As a passive way of staking, you don't need to actually deposit those locked max as it was before. There is also another thing I want to mention here is the staking rewards for let's say, locked max staking, they are going to be capped to 5% of the new emission. And the reason to include this limitation is that basically our vision with the DEX is that we want to encourage liquidity and liquidity providers. And in the old model of the DEX, 50% of the new emission actually was going to the staking part, and the staking part, although staking in general is good, is interesting, was not actually helping very much the DEX. Let's zoom out. The purpose of a DEX is to facilitate swaps, trading. It's the decentralized exchange, exchanging between tokens. This is the reason of a DEX. Of course, in order to facilitate swapping, you need liquidity. So here we want the new emission, the inflation, if you want, of max to goes to those who actually support the best the DEX. We'll come back a little bit for that because there are different actors on the Maillard DEX. So we have the liquidity providers, and we also have the locked max holders. And as you can see here, for locked max holders, there are a lot of new benefits just by holding locked max. Going forward, the meta bonding is also changing. As with the new staking, you no longer need to choose if you want your locked max to go to the meta bonding. Basically, you'll be automatically eligible for all the meta bonding rewards every week based on your energy. Another change here is we no longer gonna support eagle holders. They will no longer receive rewards from the meta bonding, so all the meta bonding rewards go to locked max holders. For Launchpad, I think I already mentioned, we're gonna locked max holder be eligible to participate in the next Launchpads. Another thing that we are adding that is really new is a so-called boosted APR. What does it mean? It's basically most of the farm. Let's say the most important farms that will have like a tag, a boosted farm, basically will give to locked max holders more rewards on those farms based on the energy. And the same principle applied to the meta staking. And then again is the fees pool I already mentioned. We are creating these fee pools. This fees pool will accumulate the removal fee, 50% of that removal fee. Also, a very interesting addition to this fees pool is 0.05% of each swap is going to this fees pool. If you know how the swap fees was before, 0.005 was burned. This remains the same. But in the old model, 0.25% of each swap was going to the liquidity provider. Now only 0.2% will go to the liquidity provider, and 0.05 will go to this fees pool that will be able to be claimed by locked max holders. This might look like we are hurting liquidity providers, but trust me, if you look back at the design, it's actually very, very, very interesting. It's good for everyone, because basically now we are aligning locked max holders that not necessarily are liquidity providers to hold the token and be part of the success of the DEX. The more volumes will be there, of course, liquidity providers will be happy, but also anyone holding, and of course, the more energy you have will also be part of the success. On the other hand, let's not forget the rewards, the farm rewards for liquidity providers are in locked max. If that locked max has more utility, is more powerful, then means that for liquidity providers that these rewards are more meaningful. And that's why it's like a balance between holders and liquidity providers that will make things very interesting. And maybe the last thing I want to mention is the governance part. The energy accumulated by an account will translate in governance power. Of course, what we're going to use a quadratic formula so that we are kind of the big accounts, the whales will be a little bit will not have such much influence, but basically once the governance will go live, the governance will take into consideration the energy of that account, and that account is translate one-to-one in governance power. And this is something new, and once the governance goes live, a lot of things will be decided by the community, as mentioned before, where LKMEX can be transferable, probably how much is burned from this removal fee, how much should, and other things. Let's talk about the token metrics. Regarding the token metrics, the new economics model will use emission to specifically align those who contribute with liquidity, as mentioned before, with those contributing by joining the ecosystem, by buying, holding, or locking the LKMEX. And once the new model goes live, the new emission of MEX basically drops by 3x or 65% from day one and continue to decrease with each year, as you can see. And now there is an interesting part here. At the end of the 5th year, we envision that the governance council will submit the following 2 options for LKMEX holders voting. And basically is pursuing the decreased emission as planned, reaching zero inflation in the 8th year, or opting for a minimum viable inflation. And what this means is that we want to ensure that sufficient incentives for liquidity providers are there, and we might keep this further, but will be decided by us together. Okay, I think I have to click again. Okay, so I think about burning, we already discussed this. The idea here is burning mechanisms are a great way to create value by introducing scarcity. And there are several ways we intend to implement a contractionary monetary policy to counterbalance the new emission and reinforce the value accrual. Most of them we already mentioned before. Here is a summary. Maybe we can move forward and see what might be the next things on DEX, let's call it 2.1. And there are some compelling features currently in research phase. Some will eventually go live, some will not. Keep in mind that if you see something in this list, it's not necessarily going to be like this or at all. I'm going to mention 3 of these that are very, for me, are really important on a personal level, is the lottery for grand causes, limit orders and range orders, concentrated liquidity. If you are familiar with the Uniswap 3.0 and Curve 2.0, these are very interesting approaches that we are also looking. And the reason is, of course, a DEX with an order book might be very, very interesting and bring the xExchange closer to some of the efficiency and speed of the centralized exchanges. Here also there is a short screenshot with the dashboard that we are preparing for the next for the xExchange. Thank you. As you can probably see, yeah, there are some interesting things here in the dashboard that actually is going to replace the accounts we have now. And one thing I'm going to mention is a new concept of leagues. Basically, this is a kind of ranking. You can see where you are compared to others. Let's not forget DEX is a competition. The rewards are limited. The more energy you have, the more you get from those rewards. So now we thought that having this concept of leagues and seeing where you are inside the league, but there will be like 5 leagues, it's an important thing for you to understand. Also there, when we are talking about the energy, I mentioned before, there is this concept of energy multiplier. Based on how long your max is locked, basically we can translate this in a multiplier that can have a value between 0x and 4x. And basically, you can optimize your max and your energy. And here there are two concepts. You can optimize what you already have. So basically, if you don't have all your, let's say you want to lock your max for 4 years, here you'll be able to see if there is, I don't know, in a liquidity pool, in a farm, or somewhere in your wallet, you forgot some locked max. Here you'll be able to optimize and all the time be sure that you can have all your locked max for 4 years locked. On the other hand, you can also, we'll make some recommendations based if you want to, I don't know, upgrade your league or be more in the top, I don't know, 1% of your league, then it means we can show you here more recommendation on how much energy you need in order to upgrade your ranking. And this means this is a pretty interesting approach. There will be other things that we're going to add, but this will I will let you discover once things goes live. And we cannot talk about the DEX without mentioning the bridge. I think we launched the bridge several months ago, and it's called the Astra bridge. And the bridge has a security-first design, and is using audited smart contracts and was battle tested together with our community to ensure that all scenarios are validated and fully explored. And the bridge is set up as a network of relayers, and they are operated together with our partners from Stake Capital, Everstake, P2P Staking Agency, and Istari Vision, and they are jointly actually managing an infrastructure of more than $10 billion worth of crypto-staked assets. And our strategic infrastructure provider joined forces with us to ensure a decentralized and transparent and highly available passage of assets through this bridge. And right now, there are around 41 million USDC and the equivalent of 24 million worth of UTK bridged between Ethereum and Elrond. Let's see what comes next. We're going to enable support for BNB chain in addition to Ethereum. We're going to bridge more assets, Ethereum, REP, BTC, BSD, USDT, BNB, and other assets. And of course, this will mean that more DEX pairs are going to be added, BTC, USDC, BTC, eGold, and others on the DEX. Maybe one last thing here is Ad Astra Bridge will become xBridges.com very, very soon. So this is it for now from me. Thank you very much for your patience. We are looking forward to presenting you later today the new products we've been working on in the past year. So until now, you've seen what you probably already knew. New products are coming, so stay tuned. I'm going to invite next the other Lucian from Elrond team, the better version, thinner, smarter, younger. So let's welcome Lucian. Thank you very much.